A Soviet propaganda team shot this film to show modernity, here in the form of personal hygiene reaching the peasants. The film brought home a simple message: do as the Russians do. By the early 1930s, all major policy and security decisions had to have Moscow sanction. According to the official lies, this was a land of milk and honey, rather than a marginal region on the wrong side of Siberia. It showed Mongols building houses to replace their nomadic tents. The traditional Mongol language was replaced by the Russian Cyrillic script. For the Soviets, it was a self-appointed colonial task of shouldering the white man's burden.
That was one of the purposes of the revolution, to destroy Mongolia's old culture and to make it appear that there had been no culture until the great light of communism had dawned in Mongolia. Works of art were burned or thrown away, books were burned. At that time, it was dangerous to be an intellectual. It was dangerous to be able to read the old Mongol language. It was even dangerous to know foreign languages.
The totem of this brave new world was a foreign god, Stalin. In Mongolia, the worship of the Soviet dictator faithfully followed the Moscow line, promoting his infallibility. The chief sycophant in Ulaanbaatar was Marshal Choibalsan, who, like his Soviet patron, had spent time as a boy in a monastery. In both men, it may have spurred murderous instincts towards religion. With Soviet approval, Choibalsan launched his own personality cult, amassing all the top jobs, from Prime Minister to Foreign Minister, Interior Minister and War Minister, apart from naming himself Commander-in-Chief. He pulled this off by executing his fellow leaders, civilian and military, on false treason charges. All artistic and cultural life served to praise dear Comrade Choibalsan. He named a city after himself. The theatre became a stage for castigating those who showed anything short of godlike devotion. It was the Buddhist faith that provided the one challenge to Choibalsan's authority. Though many High Lamas had been justly criticized for their venal and depraved ways, a majority of Mongols were true believers. There were over 80,000 lamas in the monasteries, all venerating as their god-king the Dalai Lama in distant Tibet, which exported its spiritual beliefs to Mongolia. Choibalsan's next attempt to eliminate the influence of religion was to get Stalin's NKVD to produce an anti-clerical propaganda film. The film sought to convince the Mongol peasantry that their lamas were arrogant, corrupt, inconsiderate. They lived off livestock handed over by peasantry. The lamas eat and drink with gusto. They were shown to be no better than ravenous dogs. Under duress, the lamas were forced to defecate together outside the monastery as the cameras rolled. A child lama, believed by the faithful to be a living reincarnation of a Buddhist master, was shown giving the boot to submissive devotees. The film is wonderfully shot by one of Eisenstein's contemporaries, but its purpose is manipulative. We found these documents in the secret police archive. It shows Choibalsan was ready to launch his final solution against the monasteries. Choibalsan personally wrote to the head of the Soviet secret police in 1936, saying he was fulfilling their tasks, arresting and executing lamas. In later documents, he gave exact numbers and categories every time a group of Buddhist lamas were shot on his orders. His signature appears on the reports. Practically every monastery in Mongolia was destroyed or abandoned. These are the ruins of the Manshir monastery in central Mongolia. But here there are signs of change. When the government loosened its reins over religion a year ago, plans were drawn up to rebuild. On the ruins of the old, a new central temple will be constructed. Soon, more than 100 lamas hope to return here. Nearby, the old men from Manshir, the few who survived the killing, have again donned their Lamist robes. Most of these men were in their teens or early 20s when Choibalsan's secret police arrived. The young lamas were imprisoned rather than executed. Last year, they began practicing their faith again in a tent, a makeshift monastery. They'd spent the last 50 years as herdsmen, their robes and scriptures hidden from the government. The lamas told us what happened the night the secret police came.
Яаха одоо барьж авч аваач шоронд хийх гэж байгаагаа алах гэж байгаа улсруугаа инээж орж ирдэг үлээ дээ. Энэ үнд гэрн кэнч баярлах да.
It was the presence of Soviet NKVD squads alongside Stalin's Red Army which enabled Choibalsan to finish off the lamas.